Hi, I'm Jim Denison with Denison Forum, and this is the daily article for Friday, May 21st, 2021. The title is Ceasefire Declared in Israel, the Consequences of Ideas and a Pathway to Our Best Lives. A ceasefire between Israel and Hamas began today after the worst violence in many years. The Israeli Security Cabinet voted late yesterday to end airstrikes on Gaza. According to the Prime Minister's office, the cabinet unanimously agreed to a mutual and unconditional cessation of hostilities. A Hamas official confirmed that the ceasefire would be mutual and simultaneous. This is obviously good news. However, this ceasefire is not peace. In fact, we should have no expectation that the end of this conflict will prevent the next conflict. Reuters is quoting a resident of Tel Aviv this morning who said, "It's good that the conflict will end, but unfortunately, I don't feel like we have much time before the next escalation." This was the fourth mini-war between Hamas and Israel since 2008. Why could there be a fifth in the future? The answer illustrates our week-long theme: ideas have consequences. Hamas has been firing thousands of rockets into Jewish cities and communities for nearly 2 weeks, attacking civilians indiscriminately. The United Nations states that, quote, intentionally directing attacks against a civilian population as such, or against individual civilians not taking direct part in hostilities, is a war crime. Hamas engages in such violence for 4 reasons. First, they consider all Jews to be enemies worthy of hostility. In Surah 5, verse 60, the Quran describes Jews as apes and swine whom Allah has cursed. Moderate Muslims interpret this statement as a symbol reflecting the conflict between Jews and Muslims in the early period of Islamic history. Hamas sees it as a call to permanent animosity toward all Jews and warrant for attacking Jewish citizens. Second, Hamas believes that Israel, by its very existence, constitutes an attack on Islam that requires all Muslims to respond by attacking Israel. It's convinced that the creation of the State of Israel in 1948 is a theft of land from its rightful Palestinian owners. Israel's crime against Hamas and the Muslim world is therefore the simple fact that it exists. Third, Hamas views Israeli citizens as complicit in this attack since they are citizens of a democracy. Hamas is an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood, a group influenced by the Islamist scholar Sayyid Qutb. He believed that democracy is heresy since Allah revealed his perfect guidance for governance in the Quran. The Jewish people, as participants in their democracy, are thus part of Israel's attack on Islam and worthy of retribution. A fourth worldview factor explains the degree to which Hamas engages in violence that affects Muslims in Gaza and beyond. Hamas and similar groups consider Muslims who die in a holy war to be martyrs guaranteed a place in paradise. As a result, Hamas's leaders are less concerned about killing Muslims in Gaza or Israel and typically hide their missiles and other military apparatus in or near schools, hospitals, and neighborhoods. When Israel attacks these installations and civilians are killed, despite Israel's intense efforts to avoid such casualties, Hamas can then frame these tragic deaths as Israel's attack on all Muslims and use them to call the Islamic world to attack Israel in response. The other story dominating the news this week is the Supreme Court's decision to hear a case that could undermine Roe v. Wade. As we noted yesterday, abortion has become a wedge issue, driving Americans into increasingly divided partisan camps. No issue separates Americans from each other more than abortion. According to Gallup, 48% of Americans consider themselves pro-choice, while 46% consider themselves pro-life. 44% consider abortion to be morally acceptable, while 47% consider it to be morally wrong. Why do women choose abortion? Studies report the following. 1.5% said rape or incest contributed to their decision. 7% cited the health of the mother or the baby. 25% said the timing was not right or they did not want another child at this time. 23% said they couldn't afford to have a baby at this time. 19% said they were done having children, they had grown children, or said other people were depending on them. Other reasons cited included these: feeling too young or immature to have a baby, concerns that a baby would interfere with future plans, needing to focus on other children, not wanting people to know they had sex and became pregnant, and not feeling emotionally prepared to become a parent. In other words, 93% of abortions are chosen for reasons that reflect our secularized society. Our post-Christian culture is adamant that personal authenticity is the key to flourishing, that our bodies are our own to do with as we wish, that we should do whatever makes us happy. A society that dismisses or discounts the Word of God is no longer constrained by God's clear teaching that life is sacred from conception to natural death. The key to our best lives is living lives God can bless. However, God cannot bless a person or nation that sanctions the death of unborn children, nor can he bless a movement that seeks the death of his chosen people. As we will see on Monday, such sins imperil the future for those who commit them. By contrast, the person who embraces God's love for them and shares that love with everyone they can is living a life God can bless. You possess intrinsic dignity and value because the God of the universe loves you. He proved it on the cross. Romans 5:8 says, God shows his love for us and that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. God loves you because, as 1 John 4:8 says, God is love. He loves Palestinians and Jews, leaders of Hamas and Israel, Democrats and Republicans and independents. And he calls us to respond by loving everyone he loves. Clara Barton risked her life to help wounded soldiers during the Civil War, earning the nickname the Angel of the Battlefield. On this day in 1881, she founded the American Red Cross to extend such service to all members of the armed forces and to those facing disasters. Today, the Red Cross responds to 70,000 disasters in the U.S. each year. It serves an average of 150,000 veterans and military families annually, and it works with the world's largest humanitarian network to serve more than 100 million people across the globe, all because one person decided to do what she could to help everyone she could. How will you join her today?